Hello everyone and welcome to our Week 7 battle against the NJ Brobats coached by Route 8100, and we are going to be rocking this week against a real scary team and one of the scarier opponents in my opinion in the league. So I've never played Root before. If you want to check out his stuff, absolutely go do so. The link is in the description below as always. I always encourage you guys to go check out my opponent's channels, see what they're about, see what they're doing, see what they bring against me, because if you watch my content and want to know why I make the plays I make, you should watch theirs and want to know why they make the plays they make. Anyway, my team this week is going to be the team I'm facing this week is I don't have a Protean Greninja, are you kidding? Protean Greninja, Infernape, Celebi, Steelix, Komala, Mega Gardevoir, Electros, Flygon, Blastoise, Type Null, and Golbat, with Infernape, Electros, and Flygon all being Z users. Scary, scary team. Obviously, the Mega Gallade versus Mega Gardevoir fight is going to be super interesting. Spoilers, Mega Gardevoir usually wins that fight, but we'll see what we can do with the fact that we outspeed it and do have super effective coverage in things like Shadow Sneak and Poison Jab. Anyway, so we'll get there when we get there. So his team, Steelix, is really scary, but other than that, he's really lacking any sort of switch into a Jolteon. And as a result of that, I think Jolteon, Flygon can do it, but I do have the Hidden Power Ice this week for that. Now, if he does bring Steelix, which I expect him to bring Steelix, Jolteon is definitely scared out by that thing. But outside of the Steelix, I do think this Jolteon can put in a lot of work. It is Quick Feet with Flame Orb with enough speed to outspeed a Protean Greninja that is Scarfed, and otherwise everything on his team Scarfed. And we are going to be rocking Volt Switch, Hidden Power Ice, Shadow Ball, and Wish this week. Yes, Wish Jolteon is coming. It actually gives me a really, really free thing if I think he's going to switch to go for a Wish and then Volt Switch on the following turn after my Flame Orb activates. Just because I don't know what his general switch is going to be. Will it be into Celebi? Would he fear the Shadow Ball or Hidden Power Ice, which I have both of? Would it be into Komala, predicting a Shadow Ball if he does go into something like the Celebi, which I could have Signal Beam for, but Shadow Ball did more coverage against other things on his team, since Signal Beam was resisted by Steelix, by Infernape, by Golbat, by Flygon. Does Flygon? No, Flygon is resisted. Anyway, I figured Shadow Ball was going to be better, just neutral coverage on more things. And then the Volt Switch is obviously there just for Flame Orb Volt Switching around, is always fun. So that's what this Jolteon is going to be running. Wish is really there to give me, it's almost like a baton pass set. It allows me to get a free switch into something else when I need to on a Volt Switch on the following turn, since Jolteon outspeeds his entire team. Next up, we have Scarfed, Modest, Chandelure. Spirited Away coming back this week. Energy Ball, Psychic, Flamethrower, and Shadow Ball. This coverage is absolutely fantastic. Super affects almost everything on his team outside of Komala, and obviously depending on what Protean Greninja decides to Protean himself into. But I am running enough speed to outspeed a Protean Greninja every time, unless he's Scarfed. So I do have to watch out for the Water Shuriken, but if I know he's going for a Water Shuriken because I'm Scarfed, and I try to take that, then I can go for an Energy Ball, knowing that'll be super effective. Otherwise, this thing really does handle a significant portion of his team, and because of the Scarf, is going to be a very good revenge killer, something that really can appreciate Jolteon Volt Switching into it, getting a Wish back so it can take the one hit it needs to take. Obviously, it doesn't want to take a super effective hit, but other than that, other than a potential like Earthquake from Infernape, if I think Infernape's going to go for a Fire-type move or a U-turn, this thing is a pretty free switch in to get that Wish back to be able to come in and Scarf something away. Next up, we have Yachi Berry Landorus T with the Jolly Nature, allowing it to outspeed everything it naturally outspeeds, but not necessarily outspeeding the threats that are faster than it. Obviously, you can't do anything about that. This thing is going to have Knockoff, Earthquake, Stealth Rock, and Gravity, since after a Gravity, Earthquake hits everything on his team really, really hard. The things that are generally switch-ins that would not be affected by Earthquake definitely don't want to get Gravity down to the ground. Things like Golbat, things like Electros definitely don't want to get Gravity down to the ground, which can be switch-ins to an Earthquake normally. Knockoff is there for utility, and then this is my rocker this week, so we are going to be rocking that out. I would like to get my Stealth Rocks up. He does have a couple of really good defoggers / spinners on his team, including Golbat, Komala, but we'll make do with what we got. This Landorus is defensive. It should be able to take any Ice-type attack from like an Ice Beam, Protean Greninja, stuff like that. So hopefully that is the way that works out. Next up, we have our Mega Gallade this week, rocking Boyd coming with the Jolly Nature, allowing it to outspeed Mega Gardevoir and his other base 100 in Celebi. and Flygon. Earthquake, Knockoff, Ice Punch, Drain Punch. I'm not rocking the Poison Jab. I'm not rocking the Shadow Sneak. This really doesn't handle the Mega Gardevoir at all. It just handles everything else in his team. And Knockoff from a Mega Gallade, base 165 attack, let's be honest, that's still going to do a hefty chunk to a Gardevoir that has very low physical defense. And I outspeed it naturally, so since he can't be Scarfed on a Mega Gardevoir, we know that we can get another attack off afterwards. Earthquake allows me to hit a significant portion of his team super effectively, especially after the Gravity, if the Landers is able to go for it. And then Ice Punch allows me to hit some of those other big threats, Drain Punch hitting things like the Steelix and Komala that I otherwise really don't have coverage for. Thought about close combat, but the defense drops are scarier than the HP gain. Plus, with the Wish passing Jolteon, the Drain Punching Mega Gallade, I thought the HP gain was actually going to be really important this week. Next up we have Camilla, our Tapu Fini, Defog, Moonblast, Surf, and Haze this week with leftovers, Calm Nature, super specially bulky, designed to really counter the Mega Gardevoir who starts trying to set up Calm Minds, designed to counter the Celebi who starts trying to set up Nasty Plots, although this thing really doesn't appreciate taking any sort of grass type attack from a Celebi, but it can take a hit from it. Eelektross doesn't really do that much to it either without some major special investment. And then between Moonblast and Surf, I hit a majority of his team very, very hard. There's very few things I can switch into both, Blastoise being one and Type Null being another, but those really are just walls anyway, and they actually appreciate the Misty Terrain that I'm going to set up because they can't be statused. Type Null can't rest if I do have the Misty Terrain up, so I do have to watch out for that. If I get him low health, I can definitely get that up, since that is the Type Null's only form of recovery. And lastly, we have our Rabombi, U-Turn, Sticky Web, Moonblast, Bug Buzz this week. Timid, enough speed to outspeed Greninja without it being Scarfed. And then Sticky Webs allows me to outspeed everything, especially if I can get up the Gravity and then Sticky Webs. Everything's going to be affected by them. And U-Turn is just really good for momentum and utility this week. Obviously, I'm not running any sort of attack investment. That's not designed for any damage. It's just designed to be utility, since I know he's going to have switch-ins like the Steelix, which can hard wall this set. And I want to be able to get out and continue with momentum on a predicted switch. You know, if I come in on the Greninja, I can just go straight for a U-turn, since he's probably going to go straight into the Steelix, and then I can go right out into something that's going to counter the Steelix, like my Mega Gallade, my Tapu Fini, etc. That's the team this week. We have the Fairy MZ on this because the only things that resist that are the Steelix and Golbat, and everything else at least gets hit neutrally and really, really hard. It kills the Infernape, it kills the Greninja, it does a huge chunk of Celebi, which is never a switch into this since I have Bug Buzz. It makes a massive dent in Komala, and those things don't want to take a Z Moonblast and then another attack, either Bug Buzz or Moonblast from this thing. So everything gets chunked by Z Moonblast, with the exception of the two possible switches to this, which is Golbat and Steelix, which I want to click U-turn if he does still have Alive, since those are the very obvious switches to this thing. Although it could be running Psychic, and it could be running Energy Ball, and Grassy MZ does actually almost OHKO a Steelix. So I did think about that, but I decided not to go with it since this set made more sense generally against his team. That's Team we're rocking this week. I'll be right back with that battle, guys, and I hope you guys enjoy. I think this is going to be an interesting one, since I am currently, I have guests over and we're making a cake right now, so I might be summoned to go help make the cake, and we're going to deal with that if we do have to. We have 90 seconds to do every turn, and so we're going to make it work. But hopefully that doesn't happen during this battle, so I will be right back with you guys with that battle. Alright, everyone, welcome back. You can see at the bottom what I am predicting Gus Root to have, and again, if you do skip the team builders, the team he's got is Protean Greninja, Infernape, Celebi, Steelix, Komala, Mega Gardevoir, Eelektross, Flygon, Blastoise, Type Null, and Golbat. And these are the 6 that we are expecting him to bring on my side. We have some fun sets this week. I do encourage you guys to at least, you know, watch the team builder at 2 times speed, because some of the stuff we're bringing this week is absolutely wild. But I am going to be rocking out with like things like a Wish Jolteon, U-turn Rabombi, Gravity on my Landorus, so all sorts of fun options this week. Certainly not the usual fare of Pokemon and movesets, but I think it does make sense against Root's team to have things like that to tech in case we need them. But we are ready to jump right into this, so let's get going. Let's see what he's got. And here we go. Greninja, Infernape, Blastoise, Flygon, Eelektross, Celebi. No Mega Gardevoir. Okay, this is not what I wrote down at all. Okay, so no Golbat, no Mega Gardevoir. We got Eelektross and Flygon. So we'll pull those in. We've got Celebi as well, which is fine. We've got no Steelix. We've got the Blastoise. So no Steelix, yes Blastoise. So all right, lots different than what I was expecting, but that's okay. We should have answers to this team. He does have every single one of his possible Z users, so we do have to watch out for that. Predictable leads, his only rockers are Infernape and Celebi. Either one could definitely lead right here. Neither one wants to stare down Rabombi very much, since I do have the Fairy MZ and outspeed a non-scarfed Infernape. But if it is scarfed, I don't love that matchup at all. But if it is scarfed, I don't know why. I don't know if it's a lead Infernape if it's scarfed. He could. So Rabombi's a decent lead. He'd probably expect me to be Focus Sashed. And I think that's what I'm going to go with. If I don't get my Sticky Webs up, it isn't the end of the world against the team that he's brought. And because of the Flygon, I don't necessarily want to lead with my Jolteon right here. And because I don't have the Flame Orb up yet. Now, one thing I can definitely do is U-turn out with my Rabombi into my Jolteon to get the Flame Orb up, depending on what he's got as his lead. If it is Celebi, I think I'm in decent shape. If he's expecting a Rabombi lead and goes with the Infernape, then I've got something to think about. Does go with the Electros here, and we're going to get this battle underway. I'm going to think that this is possibly Assault Vested, at which point my regular Moonblast is doing about 20%, my Z Moonblast doing about 50%. If he's not Assault Vested, then Z Moonblast still does not quite OHKO. He could have the Flamethrower or something, and Flamethrower does have a chance to take me out, although I don't necessarily think he would be Scarfed, and even if he is, I don't actually know if he outspeeds me. So I'm just going to click U-turn here and go out into my Jolteon reasonably freely, although if he does knock off, then I don't get my Flame Orb up. So I could go into my Gallade here, and this thing doesn't really touch Gallade. If he does knock off, then I get my Justified boost. And if he just Volt Switches, then I still get a Mega Gallade in for reasonably free, and I get to Mega Evolve next turn against most of the threats on his team, and be able to click Drain Punch. So that is certainly a decent option. We are just going to U-turn. Don't give away a ton of information, except that obviously we have U-turn, which is, not necessarily your typical Rabombi set. He could go for a knockoff here. He could go for a Volt Switch here. I don't see a Volt Switch necessarily being the play, mostly because I have both the Jolteon and the Landorus that could come into that. Knockoff is a problem, so I'm just going to go into my Mega Gallade here, which is able to click Drain Punch on this thing, especially if he goes for a knockoff. Thunderbolt's the first play, which is fine. That's going to do, 50, and he's got leftovers, okay. And leftovers. So now we can go for a Drain Punch. It's free. There's nothing that really wants to switch into it. Obviously, the Celebi can come in, but that's a really risky play to bring into a Mega Gallade. And Drain Punch can bring back a lot of that health. He could have Thunder Wave, which I do have to watch out for, but it would honestly surprise me a little bit if he did have Thunder Wave, just because the Tapu Fini is something that I do have, as well as the Landorus and the Jolteon all being immune to it. So I don't think that's tech that he brings. And we know this is not a Z Electros because we did see the leftovers right there. Now, I think, honestly, that knockoff is a pretty expectable play here, but Drain Punch does allow me to take the hits more well. That was terrible English. Much more better. Drain Punch allows me to take the hits much more better. It does about 30%. We're going to take a look. We're going to take a look real quick at what that did. And he goes for the U-turn here, so that's fine. We get the HP back, and he U-turns out. And I actually didn't get very much HP off of that at all, which is interesting, but that's alright. Drain Punch, so he's definitely physically bulky based on the amount of damage that Drain Punch did. If he's not physically defensive, then Drain Punch does about 50%. And so that's certainly good information for me to have. And now we get to see what he wants to go into. I'm thinking that Greninja comes in here, or Infernape. What that tells me is that this Infernape is... Also, why are you just off right now? Alright. That tells me this Infernape is possibly Scarfed. Because otherwise it doesn't naturally outspeed me. Scarf Infernape would lock itself into either U-turn, predicting a switch, or Flare Blitz. There's almost no way it's going to lock itself into Earthquake. Because Flare Blitz should kill from a Scarf Infernape from this range. So I could go out into my Chandelure, or I could go out into my Tapu Fini. Since Close Combat's not killing, since it's really either U-turn or Flare Blitz right here. Is this Infiltrator? It might be Infiltrator. It's Infiltrator, not Flash Fire. Okay, at that point, then I'm going to go into Fini here. Since it should be able to take any hits from this thing, except for maybe a Gunk Shot. But I don't see that being the first play he makes here. Having gone for the Thunderbolt first turn, I have to think that he's probably going to do the more standard plays, and I'm going to play as if he is, and he's going to have to prove to me that he's not going to do that. And there's the Flare Blitz. There's the Recoil, no Life Orb, because it should be Scarfed. I'm going to mark down a question mark Scarf. And I can Surf here. I can Moonblast here. Moonblast is going to do neutral damage to literally everything on his team, which includes this Infernape. And since Fini isn't necessarily the most specially invested, and by that I mean I have 4 points in special attack, Moonblast is my play, and prove to me you're not Scarfed, and once I know you're not Scarfed, then I know you don't have to beat my Mega Gallade. Once I know you don't have to beat my Mega Gallade, then I can stay in on that and go for an Earthquake safely. I wasn't going to go for it when he could have been Scarfed, just Flare Blitz and kill me. That's obviously not the play. So, Moonblast, very, very safe here. It does 50% to the Infernape, and if he's not Scarfed and goes for a Gunk Shot, then we know. And we have to play around that, but we get a ton of information out of that, and Gunk Shot does not kill from this range. So, Gunk Shot maxes out if he's Jolly at 72.5%, 124. We have 138, so we're good on that front, barring a critical hit. And, well, he has a lower chance of getting a crit than he does of missing a Gunk Shot straight up. So we have that information that he is probably Scarf Infernape, and because I'm not Flash Fire on my Chandelure, I do have to watch out for Scarf Infernape. But once we know he's physical, we also have our Landorus T that can come in and intimidate it, take a Flare Blitz or an Earthquake, depending on what he's trying to go for, and go from there. At this point, I think Moonblast is very safe. Greninja can't switch into this. Blastoise can, and Blastoise is probably his switch, no matter what. And there it is. We are going to get off a Moonblast here. We'll see how much this does to this Blastoise. About 30%. Okay. The question is, what is Blastoise going to do to me, right? There's really not much coverage Blastoise gets for a Tapu Fini. He's leftovers. Okay. Information. Not unexpected at all, but information regardless. So this is probably just like a max HP, maybe physically defensive, maybe specially invested Blastoise. Either way, I win out by clicking Moonblast again. So I'm just going to do that. He's going to hard switch his Blastoise and go into his Electros. I'm going to click Moonblast again. I naturally outspeed an Electros by a lot. And we do get a special attack drop. Is there a way for him to outspeed me if he's like timid max speed? Yes, if he's timid max speed, he outspeeds me by 1 point. Like max speed timid. But max speed timid, the most he's going to do to me is like 30% with a Thunderbolt, especially after the special attack drop. So we're looking at potentially taking him out here. I'm going to go for another Moonblast. I have very little to lose at this point, especially after that first special attack drop, and if he lives it, and he could take a second special attack drop, he's going to do very little. I crit him. I don't know if that mattered. The range was close, but I might have mattered. Tapu Fini kills Electros with Moonblast. And we are back to pretty much full. If his Infernape comes in here, I have to assume that he's going to have the Gunk Shot. He goes out into Celebi. Now, Celebi is a problem for me. This is the last turn of Misty Terrain. Giga Drain is the obvious play, right? And Celebi's only a problem because I don't have Ice Beam or anything. I honestly am not too afraid of a Giga Drain for damage purposes. It's like 50%. It's a 3-hit KO with Leftovers recovery. But because I don't have Ice Beam, I can't actually really do anything to this Celebi. So I could go out into my Chandelure, and I could go out into my Jolteon. I think Chandelure is a better play. I could also just go out into my Ribombee, but bluffing, well, what do you do to Ribombee? Because you could have Earth Power and you could go for it. I don't expect you to. But what do you actually do to Ribombee with a Psychic? Doesn't kill. I think that is the play I'm going to make. I'm going to go into Ribombee here. And we are going to see what he wants to do. If he goes for a Giga Drain, it's not going to do very much at all. If he goes for a Psychic, it's going to do a little bit more. He sets up his rocks, which is fine. We do have Defog this week, so we are able to go for that. I can click Bug Buzz here. He could go out into his Infernape, which makes me kind of want to click Z Moonblast, which does like 80% to a Celebi, and just I don't see his Celebi staying in. I can also click Webs, but he could just go out into his Blastoise at this point. His Blastoise did take a little bit of damage from the Tapu Fini. So Moonblast, Z Moonblast does a lot. I'm just going to click Bug Buzz though. He doesn't really have a great switch except Infernape to that. But if he does go into the Infernape, then I'm kind of out of luck there. Sticky Web is definitely an option as well. I don't see Infernape coming in hard here, because he's probably Scarfed. And now that he's got Rocks up, he's going to be chunking Fini, he's going to be doing shenanigans. So Sticky Web is definitely an option. But even then, he could go out to Infernape, and I still have to go out into Fini at that point, and I still have to click Defog. So Bug Buzz is definitely the play. He's going to switch out. If it's Infernape that it is, then I know that, and I get a Bug Buzz off here, and I'm able to just go out into Fini again. And if he goes for a Gunk Shot, we know he's Scarfed into Gunk Shot. The other option is going out into... We crit him. The other option is going out into my Landorus here, but I would rather just go out into Fini, I think. Again, I don't think he's going to be doing anything crazy play-wise, and I can go for the Defog and get rid of these Stealth Rocks, although he can go right out into... I think he's probably going to U-turn at this point, but Defog gets rid of the rocks on my side, and I can then continue to deal with this as needed. So we're just going to go out into the Fini. We'll make the predictable play. He's got to prove to me that he's going to make the play against my Fini here. And I just want to see it. I want to know what that play is. You know, do you have the Gunk Shot? Just goes for the U-turn, as I would have potentially expected. But we still have the Defog. We know that the Celebi can't really do anything to me. And so I can just go out into my... I could go into Chandelure here. Chala comes in. That's the Greninja. Do you have the Gunk Shot? It is Protean. Now Gunk Shot has it's a roll to kill from here, but it's definitely in his favor. I don't think he goes out into this knowing that I have Moonblast if he doesn't have the Gunk Shot on it. I'm going to be perfectly frank about that. That is a situation I would definitely encourage him not to do. I don't really want to lose my Fini here. I think it does a lot of work against his team. But I don't see a better Pokemon to let go down at this point. And again, he might just like U-turn. So I'm just going to click Moonblast. And we'll see what he decides to do. Moonblast has a chance to kill. And if he's not Life Orb, he doesn't kill me with I mean, he could be Spec or Bandit, I guess. But if he's not like boosting in nature, item boosting attack here, and he doesn't have like max attack, then he's probably not killing. You know, if he's running mixed in any way, Gunk Shot's probably not going to kill me from here. If he's not running a Life Orb or something. And if he's running a Life Orb and mixed, then he's probably going to kill me. But there's, you know, there's a lot of interaction here, and I'd rather just click Moonblast. And if I don't get the Defog off, I don't get the Defog off. I don't have a Sash on my Ribombee. I don't have a Sash on my Chandelure, so I do have options there. And my Jolteon naturally outspeeds this thing if it's not Scarfed anyway. But I am able to, if he goes for the Gunk Shot, pretty much go out into whatever I need to go into. So he does transform to the Poison type. Let's see. He misses. Moonblast is not going to do very much now that he's a Poison type. But he shows us the Gunk Shot. He misses the Gunk Shot. That's both good and bad for me. Obviously, my Fini's still alive. But... But we don't get any information about this Greninja, except that it has Gunk Shot. What is 191? I just want to make sure that I EV'd this. Yeah, I did. So my Chandelure outspeeds this thing. I would be very surprised if he goes for a Scald here. I would be very surprised if he goes for a Scald here. So Chandelure, I think, is my switch-in. I'd rather keep my Finny healthy. Now that I don't get the information out of this thing, and I can go to Chandelure. It's going to take 25% from rocks, which isn't ideal. And he's going to go for another. Oh, he goes for the Dark Pulse. So he does actually predict a switch or I'm not sure. He's going to take me out here. That's fine. Do we know that you're Life Orb? Please, just tell me something. Life Orb. Okay, that's exactly what I needed to know. So Greninja kills Chandelure with Dark Pulse. And my Finny is still alive and healthy. Definitely could have stayed in there. That would have been really nice. But instead I can go out into my little B here, which is outspeeds his Greninja. And yeah, it takes 25%, but it does not actually have the Focus Sash, so I don't really care. He could have Water Shuriken. That's certainly a thing that I could see him having for the B. Water Shuriken. He'd need like 5 hits in order to kill it from here. Yeah, he needs all 5 hits to kill. I'm gonna go for a Moonblast, Z Moonblast specifically, and take out his Infernape, which is what he's gonna go into here, and we're gonna be able to not have to worry about this thing switching into my Rabombi, which now outspeeds his entire team, and he doesn't have the Energy Ball, but it does have the coverage to deal with pretty much everything except the Blastoise at this point. And it, yes, I don't get a chance to defog yet, but I should get a chance to defog soon. And that should take out the Infernape. Almost any Infernape set dies to that. So, no real risk to that play. So Rabombi kills Infernape with Z Moonblast. And now he doesn't have the Elite Frost to switch into. He doesn't have the Infernape to switch into. Flygon's not coming in unless it's Scarf, Flygon, and then you have to be running double Scarfers, which you could be doing. And Greninja doesn't want to come into this and take another Moonblast now that it's not Protean. And so Blastoise is his only switch, yes. Which is what I was expecting. Now Blastoise does nothing to Finny, doesn't threaten it at all, and I can defog. He does still have the Celebi up, so he can definitely bring the rocks back up, but getting a defog off doesn't hurt me at all. And I definitely don't want to take damage on this Rabombi right now since it outspeeds the rest of his team. And I don't have to worry about it too much if I just go out into Finny here. How many turns left of the terrain is there? This is the last one. I could go into Jolteon to get my Flame Orb off, just to make sure that I outspeed everything on his team, and then be able to click Wish as well, which is definitely an option, but I think the play is just going to be going into Finny here, since Blastoise really does nothing to my Tapu Finny. Now he could double into Celebi, which would be a really good play, but I would still click Defog at that point. Goes for the Scald. This is the last turn of terrain, so unfortunately after this Scald can burn me. That one couldn't, and does nothing, and I do get a free Defog here. He can go right out into the Celebi, which is what it is. In some level, I'm just not going to worry about it too much. And then he can just rock again, but I can get a free switch into something if he decides to do that. And so I'm just going to click Defog here. Now, the other option that if he does go out into Celebi is I just go into Jolteon at that point, get my Flame Orb off, and yeah, there's the Celebi. So I can go out into my Rabombi here, but I don't think I want to take the damage on that. I can go out into my Gallade here, which I don't really mind taking the damage on, or I can go out into Jolteon, which can certainly take a Giga Drain get the Flame Orb off, and threaten this thing out with a Signal Beam. Gallade is definitely an option. Since he does still have the Flygon, I don't know if Jolteon should come in quite yet. I think the play is just going to be going out into Gallade and then clicking a knockoff on the following turn to help handle this Celebi. If he does have Nasty Plot, he'll start becoming an issue, or Calm Mind, I guess, would be another issue. But Ribombee should still outspeed it. So Toxic comes out, and it hits my Gallade, which Jolteon would have actually been a perfect switch in there, but that's okay. I don't mind, because then he wouldn't have known if I was Quick Feet or not, which would actually have been nice. But I'm going to click Knockoff here. Get rid of whatever item this is holding, get rid of the Life Orb on Greninja. If he goes into Flygon with the Z move, then he doesn't get knocked off, but we know he outspeed, and then we can click Ice Punch, and if he goes into Blastoise, it loses the leftover. So it's a free play for me. Free knockoffs are always appreciated. I've never complained about them before. Not going to start now. Knockoff, let's say you have leftovers, you don't actually know. If you're not defensive, this is going to do like 75%. And if you are defensive, then this is going to do a little bit less than that, obviously. Like physically defensive, closer to 50% is the general assumption that it'll do there. You are definitely bulky if you're rocking Stealth Rock Toxic. Certainly not a super offensive Celebi by any stretch of the imagination, but that is something to keep in mind, is that he's likely going to be, I would assume, specially defensive if he wants it to be his pivot to Finny. So then the knockoff's still going to do a lot. Maybe close to 50 to 60%. But let's scout it out here. That is physically defensive as all get-go. And he's just going to set up the rocks again. So knocked off the leftovers. And now that he doesn't have an item, Ice Punch is going to do a little bit less than the knockoff did. Mega Gallade, do I really need it for the rest of this game? Not particularly. He could recover, but I'm going to click Ice Punch. Scouting out his set's fine by me, and we'll see what we do. Does he recover? Yeah, he does recover. Okay, so then there's no sense in just sacking my Gallade here, unless he's going to recover again. He's just going to click Recover again. I do have a switch into Rocks here. So I can go into B 100% freely and click Bug Buzz 100% freely. There's no way he's attacking right now, since he knows that the Toxic takes me out. So Ribombee is totally free here, and Bug Buzz is totally free since we know he's physically defensive, not specially defensive. Bug Buzz should kill. And we know that he doesn't have the berry or anything anymore, so there's the Recover. So yeah, the Rocks dig into me, that's fine, I'm at 50%. He's definitely max HP. Bug Buzz kills from full. So we're just going to click it. Really no risk, really nothing to lose. He could go into Blastoise, fine. Ribombee is getting chipped down, but Jolteon has Wish, which I don't think my opponent has taken into account yet. I don't think there's any reason for him to have taken into account yet. Why would you assume that your opponent's Jolteon has Wish? But that allows my Ribombee to get back up and take more Stealth Rocks and be generally more of a nuisance than it already is, which is wonderful. So we're going to Bug Buzz here. This should take out the Celebi straight up, and it does, which is amazing. So Ribombee kills Celebi with Bug Buzz. And Flygon, if it's Scarfed, outspeeds me. Greninja, if it has Water Shuriken, I guess, deals with me a little bit better now that I'm, 50% down. But Blastoise is still his generally only switch into this. Are you revealing to me that you have Water Shuriken right now? Because you came in with it. 3 hits still is only a chance to kill. 4 hits definitely kills. With Water Shuriken. I could go into Gallade here and just kind of sack it and scout. And use that opportunity to go into Jolteon, go for a Wish. How much does Jolteon do to Flygon with Hidden Power Ice? Chance to kill. Chance to kill. I could also just go for a Moonblast. And hope he doesn't get 4 hits with a Water Shuriken. But then I lose my Rabombi, which still handles Flygon, and still handles this Greninja. But if it has Water Shuriken, then it's like a pain anyway. I'm gonna go into Gallade here. I want to see the Water Shuriken, and I know that I can take it if I have to, because I can go for a Wish with my Jolteon. And there's the Water Shuriken. Okay, perfect. So that's information that we needed. And so he's definitely gonna take me out. So Greninja kills Mega Gallade with Water Shuriken. Now, my, what that tells, I mean, we know he's Life Orb, and 5 hits with a Life Orb Water Shuriken on a Jolteon does 50%, where Volt Switch would kill, which means I can go into my Jolteon, I can click Shadow Ball, or I can click, he's Water type right now, he's pure Water type right now, so Shadow Ball, your pure water doesn't kill from there. I don't think he's just going to sack his Greninja, though. It's his only answer to Rabombi. So I could go for a Shadow Ball here. I could just go for a Wish as well and see what he wants to do. And if he does decide to just stay in with his Greninja, then that's information that I don't mind knowing. But the Wish can allow me to switch into Rabombi and get the health back. I don't see him just sacking this thing off to a Jolteon, though. I really don't. He needs this for the Rabombi. It's his only possible answer to Rabombi. And to Landorus. So, I'm going to go for a Wish here. He's got to switch out. He's either going to go to sack off Blastoise, or he's going to go out into his Flygon. And I'm going to click Wish here. And we are going to be able to go straight out into... I mean, I could just go for a Hidden Power Ice, but there's a chance that he's going to be able to survive that with either Investment or Yachi Berry or something. So I think my best option is to go out into my Tapu Fini here and be able to get that Wish back up on this thing, as he probably Earthquakes it. Just goes for the U-turn. So Rabombi would have been amazing there. But that's okay. Now I can go into Greninja here. But I still get my Wish back up. So he does go into Greninja here. He's probably going to Gunk Shot. He's Life Orb. So if he's like mixed max attack, then he kills even from full. But if he's not max attack, then he doesn't. And he'll probably be poison type. Poison nothing. When he clicks Gunk Shot here. And Surf plus Life Orb would kill from there. So I am going to go for a Surf here. And there's the Gunk Shot. This time he connects it. Let's see if he's max attack adamant, or max attack. He misses it again? Oh, man. I'm sorry. I don't know what to say about that. That sucks. There's no two ways about that. That's just the worst. That's the game, actually, is what that particular miss is. Because neither of his other two Pokemon can break Fini now. And all I have to do is go out into my Landorus, which I don't need against the other two Pokemon, or my Jolteon, which, you know, I don't necessarily need, but I like more than Landorus. So yeah, I just go into Landorus here, let him die to his own Life Orb recoil, and if he does switch out, then just set up the rocks, so that he'll die on switch in, because he needs this thing alive in order to deal with something, and so we are going to go out into Landorus here. I'm so sorry about that Gunk Shot, those two Gunk Shot misses. That's brutal. That's really unfortunate, but we are going to Intimidate here. And he's going to go for another gunk shot. He has to. And this one lands, of course, but arguably too little too late. He could poison me. I'm not on the ground. And dies to Life Orb. So Greninja dies to Life Orb. Recoil. Out comes the Blastoise. We're going to click... I mean, do we preserve Differential? I mean, I guess, right? The switch is just to go out into Finny here. Like, I guess that's just the best play. This is a league in which my differential is way lower than it should be for the record that I have, so I definitely want to wear a possible, maybe preserve a little bit of it, but he's going to Roar. Try to get some differential down here. He does drag out my Rabombi, but I will survive another switch into Rocks if he doesn't attack me. I am not going to switch out here. There's really no reason, or I could U-turn, but there's really no reason. The play is just to click Moonblast here. He does actually drag out the Rabombi, but I can go into my Jolteon if I need to and be able to click Wish. He goes for the Scald, so he actually is going to take out my Rabombi here, which is like obviously the most unfortunate Pokemon he could have brought in, but there was no real reason to switch out there. So Blastoise kills Rabombi with Scald. See, this is why I never play for differential. I never really actually am good at it. Like, I just... bad things happen every time I try to do it. Jolteon comes in here. It clicks... Does Jolteon come in here? Jolteon can come in and click Wish, and then he can Roar, but it's not going to matter. But Jolteon can also come in and click Shadow Ball, but then I could lose Jolteon to Blastoise with Scald. The way he went into his Flygon makes me feel like he's got the Yachi Berry or something. Scald's not killing Jolteon, so I'm going to go into Jolteon, and I'm going to click Shadow Ball. Plus, Volt Switch isn't killing the Blastoise from here anyway. So I am just going to click Shadow Ball, and then if he does go into his Flygon, I'm going to be able to click Hidden Power Ice the following turn. And we'll go from there, I guess. So he does stay in. We do go for the Shadow Ball here. Goes for the Scald. Scald should not anywhere near kill me. Yeah, doesn't anywhere near kill me. He's gonna get a little bit left over his back. I'm gonna click Volt Switch at this point. If he does decide to go out into the Flygon, then he does decide to go on the Flygon. Is what it is. You know, good plays, good plays. But so he does make that play, and I can just go out into my Landorus here and set up the Rocks, I guess. Or I can just go for a like, do I need this thing to break the Blastoise? Probably not where it's at. So I'm just gonna click Hidden Power Ice. If his Flygon has the Yachi Berry, has some bulk investment, that's fine. He doesn't. We're gonna click that Hidden Power Ice, and we actually are just gonna straight take out the Flygon. So he thought he was safe. He was not safe. So Jolteon kills Flygon with Hidden Power Ice. And then the Blastoise comes back out. No Rocks up or anything, but we're just going to click Volt Switch at this point. And he cannot break my Finny in 5 turns. There's no way. So we do have the ability to, if he does survive this, go out into the Finny. He can't Toxic me or anything. But he's probably not going to survive that, so Blastoise is going to go down. So Jolteon kills Blastoise with Volt Switch. And that's going to be the game, a 3-0. Great game, Root. Really enjoy playing all the people in the ICBA. I think they're really great people. Next week, though, we are battling against Tom Z and his San Jose Sharpedos. So the man who brought me into the GBA himself is going to be our next opponent in the ICBA. He is currently the 1 seed in the entire division. So, or not, I don't know if it's division or league or like my side of the if I want to get to finals, it goes through Tom. So we're going to see how we match up against him next week. It's going to be super fun. Definitely encourage you guys to come to that battle. But I will see you guys then. Hope you are all well. Take care, everybody.